Begin, though, this morning with the fallout from that ruling by a judge in Florida to overturn the federal mask mandate on public transportation.
The Justice Department is preparing to appeal the decision if the CDC determines masks are still necessary to protect public health. But for now, masks are optional on most airlines and forms of mass transit across the country. Some cities like New York are keeping mask mandates in place for its public transportation system. That includes subways and taxis. Well, Philadelphia is still requiring masks in all indoor settings. The different rules are creating all types of confusion for people across the country. Some are cheering the end of the mask mandates. Others are concerned about what may come next in the fight against COVID as numbers rise across the country.
I think it's too soon to drop it, personally.
I, on the other hand, am super glad that the mask mandate is dropped.
I think that you're in a confined space, and it's still, the variant is still really strong, and I don't want to get sick, so I'm going to be wearing a mask.
A lot of opinions, even among people who know each other. NBC News reporter Gary Grumbach joins us now from a metro stop in Washington, D.C. Gary, good morning to you. So quickly, walk us through what are the guidelines for masks where you are in Washington?
Hey there, Joe. Yeah, there is no citywide mask mandate here in Washington, D.C. There's no vaccine mandate here in Washington, D.C. You could walk in to the metro, no problem, no mask. You could walk into a pharmacy with no mask or no vaccine needed. But that's not the case everywhere, even just around the East Coast. Up in New York City, there's no indoor mask mandate. But to get on the MTA, to get on a bus or a subway in New York City, you do need a mask. But in Philadelphia, it's just the opposite. You can walk around on the SEPTA. You can get on to the public transportation there without a mask, but you have an indoor mask mandate in Philadelphia. And this all comes as all these cities are doing different things. But 31 states and Washington, D.C. are seeing an increase in COVID cases nationwide. So you're seeing cities making a variety of decisions here as COVID continues on.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, what is the reaction to all this from travelers, from commuters across the country? Are they happy the masks are gone? Are they anxious?
Yeah, I traveled actually from here to Washington, D.C. down to Atlanta and back to D.C. on a plane yesterday just to see what the experience was like, who was wearing a mask, who wasn't. Well, I'll tell you, when I left D.C., only about a handful of people were unmasked. But when I got back down to Atlanta, there was about half the airport, half the nation's busiest airport was unmasked. So everyone is doing something a little bit different. Here's what some folks we talked to yesterday had to say.
I think it's a little premature. Working in the health field, I think we're seeing a lot of spikes in the variants, especially in Chicago, where I'm from. We're seeing a lot of issues.
I'm not worried about it. I've had COVID. I've been vaxxed. I've been boosted.
I got underlying conditions, so I have to wear a mask. And my wife, she's going to wear a mask regardless. I think she wears a mask a bit.
Now, one thing I heard from everyone that I talked to that was happy the masks were coming off was the importance of freedom of choice. They're thrilled that they can now make a decision to wear a mask if they want to.
So interesting to hear some of the regional differences there, Gary. So what is the Biden administration's plan here? Do we think they are going to appeal the ruling made by this judge in Florida?
Yeah, so the Biden administration has said that they're following the science. They've said this throughout the entire pandemic, and that's something that they say they continue to do. The DOJ says they're not happy with the Florida district judge ruling on this CDC mandate, but that they're only going to appeal if the CDC says that they believe the guidance should continue to be upheld. So they're continuing to follow the science. Joe?
All right, Gary Grumbach, thank you so much.
Let's now bring in Dr. Bob Lahita for more on this. He's a professor at the Hackensack Meridian Medical School and director of the Institute for Autoimmune and Rheumatic Diseases at St. Joseph Health, also the author of Immunity Strong. Dr. Lahita, always great to have you with us. So do you think now's the right time to be ending the mask mandate on public transportation? What's your opinion on this? And then also, do you think that, as Gary was just explaining, the CDC has to make this case in order for the Biden administration to appeal? Do you think they're going to be able to do so?
Well, cases are going up, Savannah, and that is our concern. The scientific data right now suggests that in all likelihood, you could probably drop the mask if you are riding an airplane, for example, because of the air filtration and the good nature of the HEPA filter. But still, those who are at risk, those with immunosuppression, those who have autoimmune diseases or cancer chemotherapy are at great risk to be infected. And then we have the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. And you have the mask versus the unmasked. And then you have the kind of mask you're wearing, whether you're wearing an N95 or a KN95 or an N94, and the list goes on and on. So I don't think the politicians or the judicial people should make the decision here. It should be the scientists. It should be the CDC, Savannah.
So, Doctor, you mentioned the fact that these planes have these good air filtration systems. So for somebody who is making this decision right now themselves when they're on an airplane, since that's what the rule is right now, who does want to mask up, is concerned about COVID exposure, but maybe there's a lot of other people on the plane who are not wearing a mask, what should they know right now about the risk?
Well, the risk is about 54% that if somebody is in the plane and they're close to you and they have, whether they have symptoms or not, but they are infected, you're going to get infected. Now, the good news is the BA.2 variant only causes upper respiratory symptoms as a rule. So it's not as deadly as the Delta was. However, we have the option of having a new variant pop up, especially with 33 states having increased numbers. So if a new variant pops up, we're going to be very surprised, and a lot of people are going to be very, very sick.
And, Doctor, do you think that this could impact the case numbers that we're seeing, people having masks off on planes? And if we do see a spike, I know cases are already going up, but if it seems related to this, do you think it could mean that we see local officials start to reintroduce mask mandates?
Well, I think that is a likelihood, Savannah, and that is going to be a problem because once you let the horses out of the barn, as it were, it's going to be tough to round them up and get them back in the barn. So we're telling people, oh, okay, you can drop the mask mandate right now. You can drop the mask wearing, I should say, but you're still going to have that possibility of having everybody mask up again if the numbers spike and people start winding up in hospital emergency rooms. That's the numbers that we look at. Not people at home who self-test and never report themselves.
All right. Dr. Bob Lahida, always great to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Savannah.
Now to the latest from Ukraine. NBC News has learned the Biden administration is preparing to announce another substantial military aid package this week. According to 3 U.S. officials, the package is expected to be similar in size to the $800 million one the White House announced just last week. The news comes as Russia has launched an all-out assault on eastern Ukraine. And this morning, Ukraine says it will open a humanitarian corridor to evacuate women, children, and the elderly from what's left of the besieged city of Mariupol. We're joined now by NBC News global correspondent Raf Sanchez in Lviv and NBC News White House correspondent Carol Lee. Carol, let's start with you. What else do we know about this new aid package, and how quickly could these resources get to Ukraine's military as the fighting there intensifies?
Well, what's remarkable about this package, Joe, is just how soon it's coming on the heels of another really large package that the White House announced last week. And that really underscores the urgency that both the Ukrainians have to get more military assistance and the U.S. has to give it to them. So this is expected to be around $800 million, could be more. These things are very much still in flux. We're told the president has not signed off on this. But one of the things that it will include is tens of thousands of artillery rounds. And that, again, underscores how quickly the Ukrainians are burning through some of this ammunition. Matt Miller, an advisor to the National Security Council, talked about this on MSNBC. Take a listen.
Of course, we are always preparing the next package of security assistance to get into Ukraine, because it is true that they are going through these stocks quickly. We've supplied them with 50 million rounds of ammunition, 40,000 artillery shells, just announced last week, as you said, and we've already seen the deliveries from that package announced last week flow into the country.
Now, one of the things that you repeatedly hear from administration officials is that they understand the Ukrainians are never going to stop asking for more. And what they're trying to do is assess what the priorities are, what exactly they need right now, how quickly they can get it to them, and also how to train Ukrainian forces on some of this new equipment, because they just don't know how to use it. So their goal is to get them things that they need, that are their top priorities, and that they can learn very quickly how to use, Joe.
So, Raf, Russia made it official. Their foreign minister announced the official beginning of the new phase of the war, targeting regions that make up the Donbass in eastern Ukraine. So what is the latest on the fighting that's happening there, and what makes this battleground in the east different for the Russians?
So, Joe, the Russians gave the remaining Ukrainian forces in Mariupol until 2 p.m. Moscow time to surrender. It's about 15 minutes ago, according to my watch. As far as we know, the white flag of surrender has not been raised over that steel plant, just as it hasn't been raised with any of the previous deadlines the Russians have imposed. A Ukrainian Marine commander who is inside that factory released a video overnight. He said his forces are outnumbered 10-1. He said there are hundreds of civilians inside that factory. They say they have hundreds of wounded, but they are not planning to surrender. He did plead with the international community to try to broker a deal with the Russians to extract his soldiers and the civilians with them and move them to safety in a third country. There is no indication right now the Russians are going to agree to any kind of deal like that. They have these Ukrainian troops completely surrounded with concentric rings of their own forces. They are allegedly using very heavy bunker buster bombs, to try to clear them out of this plant. But the fighting continues in Mariupol, as it does all along this enormous 300-mile front in the east of Ukraine. The Ukrainian lines appear to be holding, but as Carol was saying, they are desperately in need of artillery. They are pleading for more weapons from the United States, from its allies. And as fast as things are moving, it is not clear whether they will be able to reach the battlefield in time to make a difference. Now, as you said, there was a little bit of good news out of Mariupol. The Ukrainian government says it has secured an agreement for a humanitarian corridor to get some women and children out of the city. We'll see if that agreement holds. Jeff?
So in addition to weapons, Carol, the White House is considering additional sanctions against Russia. How many more options does the administration have when it comes to sanctions? We know they haven't deterred Putin, but what's really the goal here?
Yeah, it's a great question because the U.S. has adopted a number of sanctions, some of the strictest sanctions that we've seen on really any country. There's a couple of things that they could still do. One is secondary sanctions. That would penalize other countries who do trade with Russia. The U.S. has not wanted to take that step. That could alienate some other countries like India or China, and could hurt the U.S. economy. That's something that the administration has wanted to avoid. The other thing that they're looking at is this designation of Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. Now, when you talk to administration officials, they say that sanctions that are mandated under that designation, and there are only 4 countries that the U.S. has designated as such, that those are something that are not even as tough as what they've already done. Well, that raises the question of, okay, well, then why not just do it for symbolic reasons? And there is an acknowledgement that this is something that might come to pass, but the U.S. really can't hurt Russia as much as they would like to without buy-in from the Europeans. They have all the leverage. This is something that the president talked about with European allies yesterday on a secure video call, and it's something that they're going to continue to try to get their allies on board with.
And Raf, the UN says more than 5 million Ukrainians have fled their home country. The train system has been vital, getting them out, bringing humanitarian aid in. I know you spoke with the CEO of the Ukrainian National Railway. Quickly, what did they tell you?
Well, Joe, the CEO told us that 95 of his staff have been killed so far. A quarter of his railway lines have been damaged, but he is still absolutely determined to keep the trains running. We also met a woman called Valentina, who was going to Kyiv to try to see her dying father. She didn't get there in time. Take a listen to that conversation.
So you were trying to get to your dying father in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
How important was the train for you?
They are heroes. Just to take care of all these passengers, take care of all Ukrainians, and just support and give these trains.
Now, the train workers are known in Ukraine as the Iron People. They are hailed as heroes, just like the soldiers are. And everywhere you go, people will tell you that they owe an enormous debt to those railway workers for keeping this country moving during wartime. Jeff?
That is certainly the case, and hard to hear that so many have lost their lives. Raf Sanchez and Carol Lee, thank you both.
Let's now bring in Lester Munson. He's a senior fellow at the National Security Institute and principal in the international practice at BGR Group. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So let's start with this potential new military aid package, because it comes just a week after a separate $800 million package. How much could this new aid help in the East? And do you think we could expect to see more aid packages like this going forward? Is this our way of helping?
Yeah, so it's hugely important. The Ukrainians have been very explicit about their needs for more ammunition, more weapon systems. Really, they have needs across the board on the military front. The Biden administration, I think, is taking a very interesting tack in announcing publicly everything it's doing to help Ukraine. Perhaps not quite everything, but a lot of the things it is doing to help Ukraine, it is announcing publicly. The money from last week and likely for this new announcement of $800 million comes from $13 billion that Congress appropriated over a month ago for Ukraine. So there's a little bit more left in the system. But I think at a certain point here in the relatively near future, we're going to see the need for new money from Congress for assistance to Ukraine.
Let's talk about the fight and the fact that the Ukrainians have continued to outperform expectations. But in the East, it's starting to get much different than what we saw in the early part of this war. Do you think a couple things here? The Russians have either learned from mistakes in their disorganization at the beginning of this and in other regions of Ukraine, or maybe more concerningly, do you think that the Russians could intensify their warfare in a way that has so far sort of seemed to be off limits, starting to use new tactics in the region?
Well, it could be all of those things. Of course, clearly the initial Russian effort to take Kyiv quickly failed. Ukraine won the Battle of Kyiv. Russia is now falling back to a plan B, which is what, frankly, a lot of people suspected before this invasion actually happened, that Russia was seeking to build the land bridge from Donbass to Crimea. And that appears to be what is happening now. Let's remember that Russia first invaded Ukraine 8 years ago in the Donbass. There have been Russian forces in Ukraine for 8 years in both Crimea and Donbass. What Russia is now trying to do is unite them with this land bridge. It goes right through Mariupol. That is why this battle is so important. So this is kind of the baseline need for Russia from a military perspective. And it's entirely possible that what Russia is trying to do is achieve this goal by May 9th, which is the commemoration of the victory over the Nazis from World War II. It's an artificial deadline, but it appears that Russia is really scrambling to have some sort of plausible military achievement by that date.
And Mariupol seems to be the focus of that. Lester Munson, thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.
Let's get a check on your morning news now. Weather.
Bill Cairns is with us. Hi, Bill. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. And it was just cruel yesterday. All those areas that had the heavy snow, and we still have more pictures to show you because, usually in the middle of the winter, we're kind of like, all right, that's enough. I've seen enough snow video. But snow video in April, the middle of April, is just ridiculous. And it was so heavy and wet, it just stuck to everything. Even at this hour, we still have 100,000 people without power. At the peak yesterday, it was 250,000 people without power. Highest snowfall total I saw was 18 inches in the southern Adirondacks. The biggest snowfall of the year was in the middle of April. Pretty crazy for some of these areas. So that's quickly melting, and by the time we get to about Friday, about all of that snow will be gone. So now we have a chilly start to the day. This is in the wake of our snowstorm. And if you had some of those early plants you put out in the Carolinas, northern portions of South Carolina, Virginia especially, hopefully you covered them up last night because we have had a freeze and a frost in many areas. Raleigh's one of those areas that's down to 34 degrees, Asheville 31. Charleston, West Virginia is down to 29 degrees. So yes, it was and is a cold morning, but the sun is up and it's going to do its job. The April sun is pretty strong. So this afternoon, Virginia recovers into the 60s. These temperatures are still about 5 to 10 degrees below what it should be for this time of year, even all the way up into the Great Lakes. Tomorrow is what we call an average day. Temperatures in the 60s, some hit 70, and then we get a significant warm-up. So it just snowed in Pittsburgh yesterday, and then Sunday, it could be 81 degrees in Pittsburgh. Look at Cincinnati, mid-80s by the time we get to Saturday. So a big change is coming to the east. And as far as any severe weather goes this week, today, we're going to be watching areas of Oklahoma, and this will be late in the afternoon into this evening. But I do not expect a tornado outbreak. And for all our friends there that still have white covering their lawn, it won't last long. It'll be gone soon.
Good to hear.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.